Alright, let's see what Baldy's up to.
So the UN, and again, all of this censorship and this ID on the internet, the real reason why they want your ID on the internet is so they can prosecute you for speaking your mind online and speaking up. It's not for children's safety, it's for their safety.
I think there should be a social media ban for under 16s here in Australia. But what I hear about Real ID for porn websites in the UK and the US, I don't think is good policy. I think just banning, I think for social media, yes, a Real ID is needed. Under 16 should be banned, but I don't think, adults should have to provide, Real ID to access adult content.
Children are simply a misdirection. Most people are aligned on the idea that kids
That is a concern. I don't know. I'm not sure how true that is, to be honest.
shouldn't be on porn websites. You don't need to have an argument about this. Most people agree on this. The problem is whenever, I'll play the video. I think there it is.
Welcome back, guys. Hope you've been having a great weekend. Unfortunately, though, we've got...
Let me just say, this VTuber thing, this anime blue hair twink anime thing, I don't get VTubers. It's quite creepy. I mean, it's really weird and creepy.
A number of very disturbing updates to go over in this video regarding the ongoing situation with various governments trying to invade your privacy, censor you, change the internet for the worse. All the sort of stuff we've been talking about for about the last week now.
They've already been censoring people, and people didn't have privacy to begin with. And now it's going to be even more extreme with every single website having to do it individually, which is going to cause so many problems.
As it's still getting worse, unfortunately. Now,
yeah, they're already selling your data. But I think, banning under 16s from Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram is a good thing.
I've got this wonderful little graphic here on screen from the account SK Bytes. And this is just like a quick prologue of the stuff that's been going on leading up to this. It's a very, very brief recap. Then we'll get into all the new stuff, and I'll show you that in no specific order. I've got like 8 different things that, as mentioned, are all very disturbing. So before we get into that, let's just read this really quick. The graphic says, George Orwell was right. It's happening. Legal speech is now, quote unquote, harmful. Platforms forced to censor you or face ruin. Age checks equal surveillance.
By the way, surveillance and digital ID, they already have surveillance and digital ID. The real problem isn't the age checks. The real problem is the government using the information to prosecute you based off of speech laws. That's the real enemy. YouTube isn't your enemy. Spotify isn't your enemy. The government is the enemy. They are the ones that are trying to control what you say, and they are the ones that are making these companies.
I don't know about the US or the UK, but I think here in Australia, I think, the social media ban for under 16s, as I've already said, is a good thing. I haven't seen people prosecuted for government dissent online. I'd have to see more evidence. I mean, I'm sure a couple Twitter retards are saying it, but I'd have to see more evidence of that because, from what I've seen, that's not happening.
Do this. Do you think that YouTube wants to maintain a database of everybody's fucking driver's license? Why the fuck would they want to do that?
Knowledge is power.
No, they don't want that. They don't want to deal with any of this because if they did, they would have done it earlier. The only reason why they do it is...
Well, they were doing it earlier.
Because they have to do it. To sell it? Well, they're not even selling it.
They probably
That's the
are.
thing. They don't even... They have a million other levels of data that they sell. They don't even need that. They already have that data for your analytics to begin with.
And digital ID, privacy crushed, dissent deleted. They're not banning ideas outright. They're programming the machines to erase them silently.
God, these VTubers are weird.
The government has handed itself the power to police thought. This is no longer democracy.
This is not new. This has been going on now. I think that the problem is that this makes the laws more of a direct threat rather than this just looming presence that people are worried about. Because now you have these laws that are directly in front of the public. Everybody can see it. It's right there.
Digital dictatorship. And yeah, there is a little typo there, but hey, it's a nice graphic. So let's start with this clip that I saw posted by the account Skeletor Explains.
Antonio
Showing
Guterres.
this member of the UN, Antonio Guterres, or however you say that.
Guterres.
Obviously, as you can see,
Gabagool
the
over
quality's pretty
there.
low. But what's important is what he's
I don't
saying.
know if he's
So let's play
Italian.
this 30-second clip. Yeah, this is quite an interesting clip. Let's take a look.
Digital platforms are being misused to subvert science and spread disinformation and hate to billions of people.
Oh, Jesus, Baldy.
It's not about spreading disinformation and hate. It's about spreading information and hate against him and people who he is on the same team with, basically. That's really what's going on here.
Again, I haven't seen that here down under, but yeah, just speak for yourself, Baldy.
That's what they care about. This is not about kids. It was never about kids.
Clear
Disagree with that. I don't think it has to be an absolute either or, like we have to protect kids or just allow anything on the internet. I think there's steps to mitigate.
and present global threat demands clear and
In terms of the US and UK, again, I'm not as familiar with the proposed legislation over there, but Real ID for porn websites, I don't think is a good idea at all, so I agree with Baldy on that. But yeah, Real ID for, social media, I think is a good thing.
coordinated global action. Our policy brief on information integrity on digital platforms puts forward a framework for a concerned international response.
So
The
we've got
UN.
this member of the UN using this rhetoric to try and
Member.
justify what these various governments seem to be doing to the internet, saying, once again, digital platforms are being misused to subvert science and spread disinformation and hate. All rhetoric, as mentioned, that they're just
Totally fine with me, by the way. Completely okay. That's totally all right. First Amendment. Cry about it. Go back to wherever you came from. Don't fucking come to America and tell us what we can and can't talk about. The fuck out.
Is that what he's doing, you see?
That's what I think.
Antonio, you must stay in your lane.
trying to use to censor free speech, invade your privacy.
I don't want to listen to some fucking international bureaucrat try to dictate
I
to me
don't want
what
some
my fucking laws should be.
namby-pamby UN boy
fuck
telling me what to
Police,
do.
whatever they deem as quote-unquote
Some
wrong
fat
thing,
old
I don't
retard.
need to sit here explaining it. You guys surely understand
He's
all
got
of
more
this.
jowls
Who
than my
exactly is
local
this guy,
bakery.
Antonio Guterres? Well, first paragraph of Wikipedia is I'll be reading on this guy, but this says, a Portuguese politician and diplomat who is serving as the 9th and current Secretary General of the United Nations since 2017. A member of the Portuguese Socialist Party,
Who would have guessed?
Guterres served as the Prime Minister
Boop,
of Portugal
boop,
from
boop.
1995 to 2002. This tweet from Samantha Smith goes on to detail, with a video clip we're going to watch, how she was approached by UK's elite police squad, the one that we mentioned the other day when we
What?
read this article, which I'll just read the headline.
Elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media.
Well, that's concerning. I hope that's not true.
It's going to get real bad in the UK pretty soon. It's going to get...
Depends. I mean, all free speech is good except for direct incitement to violence, racial hatred, or endorsement of current or historical terrorist regimes. So anti-migrant posts could fall under a broad range from under free speech. I mean, but general, securing the border, showing support for that, I think is totally fine.
real bad.
Of now, the one that said elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media. And you can reasonably presume this is the exact sort of
What is a blue-haired twink anime girl doing telling me about my rights?
quote-unquote hateful speech that Mr. Gutierrez was referring to in that UN speech in the clip that we watched a moment ago. How dare you criticize these policies? You're not allowed to do that. You might get a knock on your door. And no, I'm not kidding. That seems to be what happened to Samantha. As she says, I went on TV to discuss Pakistani grooming gangs in my labor-run hometown of Telford. The next day, officers banged on my door, wanting to shut me.
My understanding of this is pretty bad. This went unprosecuted in the UK for a long time, and from reports I've seen, a lot of the police there were scared to report the ethnicity of the grooming gang perpetrators in some cases due to fearing to appear racist, which is just so incompetent, so bad.
Up for exposing them. With the Online Safety Act now in force, no one is safe. If it
No. This has nothing to do with the Online Safety Act. They would have found this information without that. It would have been easy for them to do. You don't need the Online Safety Act to do this. They could have already done it before this.
Happened to me, it can happen to anyone.
I was on your show last Monday, same time practically. I came off, there was a fantastic response.
Yeah, they've been prosecuting the people for this for years. So obviously this new act that just happened clearly isn't clearly this didn't cause that to happen.
From the public, I was really, my heart was warmed by the support and outreach that I received from those that either didn't know what had been going on in Telford for decades. Up to 1,000 girls had been reported to have been abused by grooming gangs since the 1980s.
Holy
or
shit.
those that had no idea that it could potentially still be going on, and the scale of police, council and social services failings. I went back home, I went back to Telford, and the next day around lunchtime 2 police officers banged on my door demanding that I speak to them about my interview.
Really? So the police who have done nothing for the entire third millennium to date suddenly were roused to activity by you going on television.
Yeah, they told me that they had gone round to all of the addresses they had on file for me. They had gone to my previous home addresses, the different...
Well, they're trying to intimidate her. They're trying to make her afraid of speaking out against it, and they're trying to push her into being quiet. Because maybe she hasn't completely broken the law, but she's done things that put their narrative at risk. So because they can't actually arrest her because of breaking the law, they just have to resort to intimidating her with the use of the police and the military, or probably militarized police. That's basically what's happening, right? So,
Jeez, I hope that isn't the case.
they can't.
I haven't followed the events too closely over in the UK, so I'm not as familiar with what's going on there.
Put you in jail, but they can scare the shit out of you. They call it the non-crime hate incident.
Accommodations that I'd stayed at looking for me, and eventually they located me. They hunted me down, they tracked me,
they will.
Banged on my door. Not a clear,
Again, like the government's not stupid. They're gonna find out where you live.
Too different to when they're knocking on the door of a perpetrator, of a potential criminal.
Yeah.
I was on FaceTime to my friend at the time, who said to me afterwards, I genuinely thought you were going to get arrested from the way that they were talking to you.
Of course, because they tried to scare her.
You would think that...
I'm not sure if that's proven. I don't know.
They would be protecting people who would be trying to expose these...
I've got no reason to think this person's lying at all, but I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Grooming gangs, right? Like, you would think the police should want to protect the people exposing them and go after them. But in some sort of twisted world, apparently they're trying to silence the people speaking out about that stuff.
They told me that, quote unquote, when you go on GB News and talk about grooming gangs in Telford, it's our duty to follow up with you.
Why? Why? Yeah, I'm
that's not
curious
good.
why that is.
That's not actually true, is it?
Yeah.
No,
So
not
the
at all.
police are, among other things, lying to you.
It's funny, I said to them at the time, it was funny that they did absolutely nothing to bring my accusers to justice, but when I went on national TV, my abusers to justice, but when I went on national TV and talked about the industrial scale of their failings and their inaction in bringing to justice the perpetrators of vile sex crimes in Telford, that they are suddenly spurred into action to come and knock on my door and intimidate me into silence.
It's pretty
Of
pathetic.
course, because they don't want anybody. The thing is that they know women speaking out about this stuff changes the cultural narrative, and it makes the migrants no longer the innocent, downtrodden masses that they can take advantage of people's emotions to justify bringing into the country.
I don't agree with that. I think that sounds a bit paranoid. I think that's a bit ridiculous.
So what they are the most afraid of is women speaking out and sharing their stories about being, like assaulted or harassed or anything like that. Because if they do that and then people see that this is happening, the entire foundation of the lie that they've created falls apart. That's the reason why. And they're terrified of that foundation cracking. And so as soon as people realize that actually, no, these people are not, these super misunderstood groups of people, and they're actually, in some cases, bad actors, not all of them, obviously, but some of them are. And if you don't hold the ones that are bad accountable, people will assume that they're all bad. And that's what's happening.
These big butch coppers being so insecure.
Now arrest the police who help the gangs now. As I said, I think that eventually there will be enough.
This is, I think, the biggest issue Starmer faces. And, he said in that clip the other day with Trump that he turned away 35,000 migrants. I don't know if that is confirmed or not. But, yeah, people need secure borders and a cohesive process for immigration. You can't just let anyone over the border.
People in the UK that are tired and upset about this. And I do think that what will happen is that the anti-immigrant sentiment will become so large that it will create a majority inside of the government, and they will be able to enact policy. And I think when that happens, that policy and the people that now are trying to suppress everybody talking about these grooming gangs, etc., these people will be lucky if they are alive. That's what's going to happen.
Gee, I don't know about that. That sounds pretty extreme.
They'll show no mercy? Yes. I guarantee you that the people that will take over and the people that do this will be absolutely fucking brutal. Protests have started already. That's
I think that's very unlikely to happen.
nothing. No, I'm talking trust me. Again, they're still saying turn the boats away. Just wait till they start saying sink them. Because
It's not a massively difficult process for a government to block incoming smuggler boats of migrants. I mean, we in Australia had this a few years back where there was more outcry for it, and if you don't share land borders with another country, I know the UK does, but here we don't, and it's generally an easier process to secure your borders, not sharing, unlike the US where you share a north and southern border with two countries.
that's what's next. And it would have never gotten to this point if they had treated the people who had reservations about migration seriously instead of calling them racists and banning them off of social media and putting them in jail. It would have.
Yeah, I think the shadow banning and cancel culture from 2017 to 2023 was really the peak of it. 2017 to 2023, and it was so bad for society. Really had negative effects on people.
Never gotten to this point.
That you going on TV and
The problem is the MAGA retards are fucking worse in the opposite direction, though. Both the woke retards and maggot retards are just ruining the United States.
Criticizing them can drive them into action that they otherwise haven't taken for decades. Do you know who actually ordered up this, I guess raid is the word for it?
I have
Well,
absolutely
obviously somebody who's at the government. And to be clear, it's bad. It's going to happen, but it's still bad. Of course this is bad. Yeah, tons of innocent people are going to be hurt by this on both sides. Tons of them are. And this is going to be awful. And it's a problem that's a complete unforced error by the government.
no idea.
Well, the UK government under Starmer's only been in office, what, about a year? And the Tories were in power for the prior 13 years, so... Yeah, Starmer, this is the biggest issue. It's make or break for him on this issue.
I know that it was two police officers from the CSE team that knocked on my door. They said they had been working for the force for a year and 6 months, respectively, and they were quote unquote.
I think another great example of this is like you look at Alligator Alcatraz, where you have the president of the United States that just says, yeah, we're going to let illegal aliens get eaten by alligators and die. And everybody's like, yeah, based. True. Great.
Well, that's the immigration policy I need, damn it.
Awesome. He won the popular vote. 10 years ago, that would have gotten you canceled.
Try swimming back to Mexico with alligators around you, buddy.
Now it gets you elected. Imagine where we're going to be 10 years
Now it gets you public office.
from now.
trying to make a difference. I don't.
No way. As if it wasn't bad enough. I mean, that's just silly. I mean, I can't believe that. Oh, we're trying to make a difference here. How dare you speak against this stuff? You're not helping anyone. We're the ones trying to make a difference. You got to be kidding me, dude.
Yep.
I don't know what difference they were making by going after a victim rather than
When
the
did he say let them get eaten by alligators?
I think I remember him saying that.
Somebody was interviewing him, and he said, well, so, like, is the idea that if they escape, they'll get attacked by alligators? And he said,
Interior crocodile alligator.
it's like, yeah, I guess that's kind of the idea. Yeah, sure. It's pretty much about it. Yeah.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, he straight up said it. Yeah, like he did.
perpetrators, those that have been systematically using grooming
If you're
and
into snakes?
passing
Oh, yeah,
girls
true.
around, like
Throw some snakes in
like-
for good measure.
Well,
for decades.
Absolutely
Jesus,
insane.
gotta save
Of course,
that.
there is so much that could be said
Jesus,
about
gotta
that.
save
It is
my
just
white
vastly
ass.
disturbing, and my apologies for having to cut some of that. You probably saw
Sure.
the
Shit.
disclaimers I put on screen for very brief portions of that clip. She, as mentioned, did go into further detail about these disgusting crimes. And yeah, just think of the worst possible stuff that can happen to women and children. And that's sort of stuff that she's talking about that they apparently don't want her talking about. And that takes us to the next part of the video. In the UK,
This is one incident. I don't know if this is true on a broader level. It'd be foolhardy to assume it is true on a much broader level.
the Office of Communications is getting more and more desperate. It
Based on
seems.
one
this
incident.
account right here, Alex Armstrong,
Yep.
saying exposed. Ofcom, Office of
Uh-oh.
Communications, are paying influencers to spread propaganda about the Online Safety Act in the UK.
What?
Orwell's 1984 isn't just here; it's in
Wait,
full
what?
motion. Thank you to Dr. Hoenderkamp for bringing this to my attention. And I gotta say, like, before I can even read this, if you're an influencer accepting this money and doing this, I mean, just pathetic beyond words, really. So goes on to say, paid
Where does it say
advertisement.
pay advertisement? Where does it say?
It shows this Instagram account here. It reads, as of the 25th of July, anyone trying to access adult content online will have to prove they are over 18. This is not to ruin anyone's fun, but it's about time that children are protected online.
My skeptic inside of me makes me think that is the advertisement for that, or is it for the can of soda that she's holding?
Yeah, I don't know. This could easily be fake.
Is that explained in the video? Like, I'm not convinced by this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like this isn't. It's not convincing enough.
There is enormous amount of content out there, but some of it is content that is made for adults and not children. This is just the start of trying to make the internet a safer place. And this arrow, which does cut off some of the text there, but the arrow points to, as you can see, this being an advertisement. So, yeah, I mean, if this is all true, this is not a doctored screenshot, which, I mean, I don't think it is. But, you know, as a disclaimer, I will say, assuming this is all true.
Olivia Bentley K. Somebody'd have to find the post and show me. But it looks like it, and you can see that this girl is advertising all kinds of products all the time. I don't think that we can say with certainty that her doing this advertisement, it was actually by this company. I think this is people looking for something, and they're looking so hard that they've made it up themselves.
Yeah,
I don't.
Doesn't look
Yeah, I'm not
true.
exactly sure. I would not. I don't trust this yet.
I mean, how pathetic, man. Like, I couldn't imagine the sort of person that would take money to promote this nonsense, to stand up for this corruption, and to gaslight your own followers about it, to take the money and push this on your followers.
What am I watching?
To try and spread the agenda of these corrupt politicians. I mean, I don't know how someone could possibly ever be okay with that. And it goes without saying, of course, but yeah, doing it for free would be bad too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all around, as mentioned, a really pathetic thing. Then I also saw this tweet about the Labour government in Australia and this app called
Oh, hello, my neck of the woods. Here we go.
Signal app, which is apparently a very popular messaging app in Australia.
Wasn't that the app that old Pete Hegseth leaked the Hoofy stuff?
I've never heard of it before. If this is like popular around the world, I guess I'm just out of the loop.
Signal.
But the tweet reads from Aus Integrity. Breaking. Labour government demands backdoors into encrypted messaging apps. Whittaker, Signal app's president, said they would exit Australia before giving access. The quote being,
I think that every single company should obviously have to follow the law, and they should have to like give every information away if it's asked to by a judge. Just because a website has like an ideology of like, oh, this is the way it should be. If you want to do business in a country, you
have to abide by the country's laws and jurisdiction.
have to follow that country's laws. That's all there is to it. Like there's no way around this. They should leave. Well, then they can.
Yeah, that's the other option. They can leave or just abide by the laws.
But those are the two options.
I mean, China is the most notable example of restrictive internet.
Yeah, so then they pull out? Absolutely.
our commitment to end-to-end encryption, maintaining robust, technically guaranteed privacy for everyone who uses Signal, never wavers. And so the text here in the article says, Signal boss warns Apple X Australia if forced to hand over users' encrypted messages. So I'll admit, I don't think I fully understand this one, but to my understanding, I don't think Signal currently holds decryption keys.
The principle is correct, but in this case, they should leave. Australia has some really draconian, shitty laws. Yeah.
Oh, fuck off, cunt. Stay in your fucking Yankee land. Here down under, our school kids don't get mowed down by AK-47s.
And that's totally their discretion to do that. But obviously, a company should not be able to defy the national law.
Fucking no good Yankee cunt.
Laws of the country that they're doing business in, because it goes against what their business model is or what their company ideals are. This is very obviously true, and if you applied this to any other thing that you guys would agree with, you would immediately realize that it's necessary. Of course, companies just. You think a company just gets to ignore a subpoena? That's ridiculous.
So,
Get your
hypothetically,
head
if the government
together,
were to
mate.
hand like chat logs from their app, they wouldn't be able to hand them over, and this would mean that the government wants them to redesign the app in a way where they create this backdoor access that they would then give the Australian government, to which Signal believes would threaten their global security model,
Unless they're
and saying they'd
MasterCard,
rather
that's
leave.
a huge problem. And you're right that certain companies own the government and they're able to effectively operate without any sort of regulation. Or if in worst case, they can use the regulation against other companies that are their adversaries.
Australia, then
True.
do such a thing, unless I have this completely mistaken, which I might. And lastly, we've also got some news over in
This boy needs a trip to the woodshed, having a blue-haired anime girl talking for him.
the U.S. this article from torrentfreak.com saying U.S. senators introduce new pirate site blocking bill, Blockbeard. Now, it's actually a very wordy article, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will go over.
What kind of man has a blue-haired anime chick talking for him?
For about a minute or so, what I find to be some of the highlight areas. Earlier this year, U.S.
I think people are being misdirected. The frustration around these new internet laws is not, in my opinion, the big problem. The big problem are the speech laws that the internet laws are used to enforce. That's where the real big issue is.
I don't know about the UK or the US on that. In terms of what the speech law is going through, along with the possible social media ban and Real ID, but from what I've seen of our legislation, I haven't seen any chilling on speech with regards to banning minors from social media.
Because you wouldn't need to worry about going to jail if there wasn't a law against doing it. That's the main fucking problem. It's that they have all these laws in the UK, in Australia, in Canada, etc., that limit your freedom of speech, and it prevents people from expressing themselves. That's fundamentally what the issue is.
Speak for
Zoe
yourself,
Lofgren
Baldy.
introduced a new pirate site blocking bill titled
The US freedom of speech isn't absolute. You can't directly incite violence or, write racist stuff. I mean, so there's limits on US freedom of speech too. The big difference is over here we have a lot lower threshold for defamation or libel compared to the US. So in that respect, yet they do have more freedom of speech.
Foreign Anti-Digital Piracy Act, FADPA. This week, a similar proposal was introduced by Senators Tillis, Coons, Blackburn, and Schiff. The bipartisan bill titled Block Bad Electronic Art and Recording Distributors, Blockbeard, aims to introduce a legal mechanism for rights holders to request site blocking orders. The site blocking proposal seeks to amend U.S. copyright law, enabling rights holders to request federal courts to designate online locations as a foreign digital piracy site, quote-unquote. If that succeeds,
This looks like a US bill. I'm not familiar with this at all.
courts can subsequently order U.S. service providers to block access to these sites.
There is more piracy that happens on YouTube than everywhere else on the internet put together. So unless you can apply this to YouTube, then I don't want to hear about it. This is just bullshit. Like, think about how many movie clips and things like that you've seen on YouTube. Do you think that was licensed by Paramount Studios? Was this licensed by Warner Brothers? No, of course not.
Pirate site designation would be dependent on rights holders showing that they are harmed by a site's activities, that reasonable efforts have been made to notify the site's operator, and that a reasonable investigation confirms the operator is not located within the U.S. Additionally, rights holders must show that the site is primarily designed for piracy, has limited commercial purpose, or is intentionally marketed by its operator to promote copyright infringing activities. If the court classifies a website as a foreign pirate site, rights holders can go back to court to request a blocking order. At this stage, the court will determine whether it is technically and practically feasible for ISPs to block the site and consider
This is the beginning, guys. The World Wide Web, I don't think will exist when we are old. Like when we're 65 or 70.
Gee, that's a massive call. I don't think that's going to be true at all.
We won't have the World Wide Web anymore.
potential harm to the public interest.
I'll take Baldy.
There will be some residual vestigial places that are similar to that, but the way that we're on the internet right now, we're on the clock.
Orders would stay
Sounds kind of paranoid. I don't think so.
in place for a year with the option to extend if necessary. If
5
block
years for
sites
you?
switch to
Yeah,
new
sure.
locations, the court can also amend blocking orders to include new IP addresses and domain names. So yeah, Blockbeard and FADPA do seem to be very similar, mainly differing in the whole
You
DNS.
tripping? Okay. All right. Again, like I get mad all you want.
Well,
I don't want this
when
to
we're
happen.
80, we'll see what happens.
I think it's going to happen. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen.
If we're around.
Resolver part of
that's it.
the proposals and the judicial process that they are also proposing. I could have phrased that better, but yeah. And that's the final thing I wanted to go over in this video, so I'll leave it there. As always, thank you for tuning in. I know it was kind of a gloomy video in many ways. You know,
those are my favorite.
Well, not some. Lots of disturbing stuff going on, to say the least. But regardless, I do hope you enjoyed my coverage, and thank you again for tuning in.
Demoralization
if you enjoyed,
content.
please consider liking and or subscribing. It helps out greatly. I look forward to seeing you here in the comments and in the next one.
Come on, mate. You can't have a blue-haired Japanese girl talking for you. Get some hair on your nuts.
Coverage, and thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and or subscribing. It helps out greatly. I look forward to seeing you here in the comments and in the next one.
Catch you in the next one. Right back at you. Yeah.
President Trump says the United States is moving to
Just a second, sorry about
Welcome back.
See you in the next one.
I'm going to be real. I think that it's very, very obvious and very, very clear that this is where things are going. You are going to have more internet censorship. You are going to have an increasingly more segmented and localized internet. You are going to have more laws on the internet. And again, if you are in the UK and you're in Australia and you're mad about this, you need to get mad about the laws that are being enforced with this law.
The social media ban for 16s and under is a good thing. As far as I know, we're not doing a real ID for pornography sites. So I think we're headed in a good direction on that basis. But yeah, there's always a concern about any possible chilling effect on speech. So yeah, I'd have to look into that more.
Rather than being mad about this law. Because this law obviously wasn't needed for them to enforce speech.
But I think there's a lot of healthy skepticism about that. But old Baldy saying there'll be no World Wide Web in 50 years, I think is a little bit much. Come on, lad.
Laws. That's how people have been getting arrested for tweets for the last decade. So very clearly, that's not the reason why this is happening. It might make it easier for the government, but at the end of the day, it was still happening one way or another. So you need to, again, the laws and the speech rules and regulations, that's the real problem more than anything else. If we don't protest against this, it will happen. I think that, again, in the United States, and this is the thing, in the U.S., we don't really have this problem.
Always make sure any protest is peaceful, because there's always a potential for bad actors and, you know, your enemy to screw with you on that.
As much. Like, it's not as bad for, like, you getting in trouble for shit that you say online. If anything, it should be worse. But for other people, I think it is. Yeah, I think it absolutely is. And especially, like, in like, places in Europe and in Australia and in Canada yet. Yeah, of course, yet. I mean, obviously, you need to always be vigilant.
Speak for yourself, Baldy.
With that kind of stuff. That was a hot ass take. It's not a hot take. It's literally a fact. Like, I don't know what you want me to say, but like, basically the law is the bullets. If somebody's pointing a gun at you and pulling the trigger and there aren't any bullets in it, then you're not going to get hurt. But the laws that they're using are the bullets. So focus on that, and that's what the problem is. Do you think it's a net benefit to remain anonymous on the internet? Would you trade anonymity for complete free speech online? Well, it's different because, like, so you're talking about anonymity. I think that users should be anonymous to each other, but the government should be able to find out who users are that are using ISPs.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Take Baldy.
Like, for example, like if you're using an ISP and you're distributing child porn, I think that the government should be able to find out who you are and arrest you. Absolutely. Of course you should. So, yes, anonymity is, yes, and they can already do that. But I don't think that there should ever be a universe where your anonymity is at risk to other people. So, like,
Agreed.
what I mean is that, like, on Twitter, I don't think some random person on Twitter should be able to pull your file and look at everything that you're doing on the internet. This should only be reserved for government entities under court orders and court warrants. Does that make sense? And by the way, that's pretty much how it is right now. So yeah, exactly. Court ordered, yes. Yeah, only with a court order, and that's it. Would you consider this akin to burning books back in the old days? Like even Wikipedia is getting
No, not at all.
sanitized? Yeah, I think so for sure. Definitely. You shouldn't be prosecuted for wrongthink,
wrong.
though. Then go after the laws for prosecuting people on wrongthink and not the laws that are being used to enforce those laws.
Guys, hope you
Because that's really where the problem is more than anything. And that's really what I was trying to get at. But if the idea thing, a $44 million VPN business dies overnight, well, a lot of VPNs will turn over your information already. Like if a VPN, there are some VPNs that don't store data. And so obviously like there's nothing really
Yeah,
for
some of them don't store user logs or server logs.
them to turn over. But I would expect that practice to, I think that's on a timer. I don't think that in maybe 10 or 20 years, that's still going to be the case. Because I think that companies, obviously, like, businesses and the government isn't going to let people continue to do that. Proton won't do it. Well, the thing is that, and this is the issue that I think a lot of you guys don't understand, is that these companies don't have any leverage. If the government tells them to do something and they don't do it, they just go to jail. They shut down the company. It's done. That's it. Like, it's not like there's a negotiation here at all. The government says jump, and the companies have to say how high.
The only leverage they have is in terms of user popularity of their services and the economic ties to their apps or services. But yeah, the government has the ultimate power to allow or disallow, and the company has to abide by the laws of the jurisdiction. Again, China's the most notable example of is an extreme example of, the most restrictive internet in the world, probably.
There's no negotiation. There's no argument. There's no, but this is what the right thing to do is. They have, yes, the government has absolute power. They have a monopoly on violence. They tell the companies what to do, and the companies have to obey them, and that's it.
Yeah, true.
They can't fight it. They can fight it. No, they can't.
Not really.
I mean, they can to an extent, but if they really do it...
They're pretty limited in what they can do on, when it's not where they were founded or the country they were founded in.
In a big way that obscures and goes against what the law is, then they'll just simply go to they'll go there and arrest the people. That's it. If they do not store logs, they have nothing to give away. Exactly.
Yeah.
But like all I'm saying is that certain companies can fight it. The extent that companies can fight it is to the extent that the government allows them to fight it.
Yeah.
Do you think that the companies can fight it here or in China?
The government has way more power, ultimately.
Yeah. Because I guarantee you in China, the company says, we want to do things this way.
Yeah.
Chinese government says, no, you're not doing them this way. And the company says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll never do things that way ever again. And why is that? Everybody knows why that is. It's because the government has a monopoly on violence.